What's happening? What's happening? I'm out here in these woods talking about meritorious manumission. I said I'm out here in these woods talking about meritorious manumission. What exactly are we talking about? Who knows what meritorious manumission is? Who knows? Who knows? I'm out here in these woods talking about meritorious manumission. Who knows what meritorious manumission is? It has a lot to do. It has a lot to do with the conversation we were having earlier about Candace Owens, people like Jesse Lee Peterson. Kevin Burkett said, "Where you at?" I'm out here in this forest, boy. I'm out here in this forest. Look, people don't think I'm in the woods. People don't think I'm out here like that. Look, bro, meritorious manumission. Sometimes you got to just walk up in the forest and speak your piece. You feel me? What's the name of that sheriff? That sheriff that racist love, that black sheriff with the goatee who wears the cowboy hat. He was just on the Candace Owens show. What's the name of that sheriff? Somebody tell me the name of that sheriff. Because I'm going to teach y'all about meritorious manumission. Connie says, "I don't know, but I'm listening." Okay, yeah, listen. No, for real. I need somebody to tell me. His name is Sheriff something. He's always on Fox. He hates black people, but he is black. And he's a conservative sheriff. Like, you guys know who I'm talking about. Like, what's the name of that sheriff? I don't know who you're talking about. All right, listen. So there's this sheriff. And if somebody comes and listens to this live later on, who knows the sheriff I'm talking about, post his name on here. But when you look at Candace Owens, right? When you look at people like Jesse Lee Peterson, here's what meritorious manumission is. Meritorious manumission was a slave law back in the day when slaves were owned in this nation. There was a set of codes called meritorious manumission. So what that meant, if you're a slave and your brother runs away from the plantation and you know where he went and you snitch on him, you can get your freedom. If you are a slave and you think of an invention that makes your master rich, you can get your freedom. If you do something that saves your master's life, David Clark, Sheriff David Clark, Kevin Burkett, Burkhart, Sheriff David Clark, right? So David Clark always talks about how terrible black people are. He talks about black on black crime, which is an issue. I'm not trying to minimize that, right? But let me bring this point home. Meritorious manumission, look this up. It was a set of slave codes. So the master would say to the slave, if you think of an invention that makes me rich, you can have your freedom. If one of the other slaves runs off, and you tell me where he went and we catch him, you can have your freedom. And if a slave attacks me, the master, and you save my life, you can have your freedom. That was meritorious manumission. It caused slaves to turn on each other. This taught the slaves that there is a benefit, there is a reward behind attacking your own. Think about that, and think about Candace Owens. Think about that when you think about David Clark. Think about that when you think about Jesse Lee Peterson. There is a long history. There is a long history of there being rewards for attacking your own. You know what I'm saying? If I was a conservative and I said crazy racist things about black people, I could be on Fox News tomorrow. I could be on there tomorrow, bro, because it makes me way more powerful than a Bill O'Reilly or an Ann Coulter, right? Because it gives people who are already racist the ability to look at me and say, he's black, so if he can say all that, then I'm not going as far as he goes. You know, I can't possibly be racist because look at this black dude saying all this hateful thing about his own people. At least I'm not that guy, right? It's crazy. It's really, really deep. You know what I mean? There's a big reward, bro. If you are black and you hate black people, bro, you can get a huge conservative following. And I hate using that word conservative because I know conservatives who are real good people. Like, shout out to my brother, James Medina. I don't want to name too many names, you know what I mean? But, like, that's my dude. That's a, you know, and I think he's a conservative, you know? But he's not a bad guy at all. He's not a racist dude at all. But I just wanted to go over that, man, because a lot of people consider Jesse Lee Peterson and like, Jesse Lee Peterson calls Donald Trump the Great White Hope. He calls himself young, black, and dumb, right? He perpetually denigrates his own people. He hates his own skin color, and it's very clear on the, you know, you can see his interview with Kalinsky, his interview with David Pakman. He's a black man that hates black people. You know what I mean? And you think to yourself, what does it profit? Like what's the incentive behind doing that? And that got me thinking about meritorious manumission. For those of y'all just joining, meritorious manumission is the slave code that said if a slave rats on his fellow slave who ran away and tells the master where he went, if they catch him, you can get your freedom. If a slave attacks his master and you help the master by killing that slave, you can get your freedom. And if you think of an invention that makes your master rich, you can get your freedom. So that incentivized black people to attack their own when it comes to these movements. And meritorious manumission still exists today. Facts. People say, "Oh, bro, you know, you're just talking about Candace Owens because she disagrees with you politically." Name me one political viewpoint that Candace Owens stands for, always, or that she knows anything about. Bro, she's scared to even debate people at... We're off that. Listen, bro, I'm telling you, these people, there's people out there, like, there are legitimate intellectual conservatives that I appreciate, like Ryan Anderson. Ben Shapiro's even one of them. A lot of people gag when they talk about Ben Shapiro, but Ben Shapiro, he has some logic behind him. Like, there's a degree to which he knows what he's talking about. I wish I could think of the guy's name. He debated Tahini Coates. They had a debate on reparations, and he was a black conservative, and I appreciated him. I forget his name off the top of my head. But you gotta stop thinking that it's a partisan issue. It's not a partisan issue all the time. Some of these black people are just, the only reason they have their position is to aggrandize these people who really have spiteful intent, right? If I was a racist who didn't want to be thought of as a racist, I would love to have somebody like think about what's the girl's name? Karen Strawn. Listen, there's a woman named Karen Strawn. She has a podcast called Girl Writes What, right? Karen Strawn has a podcast called Girl Writes What. She is a men's rights activist. So you think, no, you heard me right. She is a men's rights activist. So you think, why is there a woman who's a men's rights activist, right? That seems kind of crazy. But don't you think that there's men out there who just hate the women's rights movement, who look at her and say, look, she's a woman, and she feels all these kind of ways. So I must be justified in my position because I can point to a woman who is far right of me. So in a similar way, bro, there's white racists in the world who depend on Candace Owens, who depend on Jesse Lee Peterson to say hateful things about their own people so that they can seem justified in their perspectives. Because you can say, "Oh, bro, you're hateful. You're racist. Your political opinions are from the past. Like, you have ancient perspectives that are just going to hold us back." And they'll say, "But no, I'm not racist because I like Jesse Lee Peterson and I like Candace Owens." And they're out there saying crazy stuff like Native Americans are savages and black people who are killed from police brutality, were criminals anyway and we shouldn't be celebrating them. I'm not saying that. At least I'm not them, right? I'm telling you, study Meritorious Manumission, because a lot of those principles apply today. Some people, people say, Biscuit should do less politics and do more bars. This is bars, boy. What are we talking about?